The iPhone SE, now in 2020, has opened quite a few users' eyes to the possible world of affordable yet high-performing smartphones. In reality, it's just the latest in a trend of affordable smartphones in the US that might have started with this 2019 phone from Google. This is Pocket Now, and I'm Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? This is the iPhone SE up against the Pixel 3a, sponsored by Subcase. Stick around to learn how you can win an iPhone SE of your own. Yes, we're looking at the Pixel 3a, which is technically a bit dated by now, but it was a precursor to what we might see in the next couple months. In 2019, Google introduced an affordable version of the controversial but generally memorable Pixel 3. It was almost a surprise because it was basically leaked all to hell before the actual event. Still, that didn't stop curious users from checking it out. Now, you'll notice that I went for the smaller version of the phone, which is probably a bit better for this comparison because of the size of the iPhone SE. There is an XL version of the Pixel 3a, but I always opt for better quality of life, and a smaller phone usually means better handling, especially for daily usage. So sure, this Pixel has a 5.6-inch Full HD display, plenty of bezel, has a somewhat now antiquated rear-mounted fingerprint reader, and is of a rather cheap-feeling plastic build all around. Still, this Pixel 3a became my go-to device for many an occasion, even for trips around the world. Google Fi eSIM support made it a reliable phone abroad, while the camera proved to be a worthwhile companion. But I did mention the size of the iPhone SE, which takes a different approach to bringing an affordable version of a flagship phone. See, the iPhone SE isn't just a smaller and cheaper version of a current iPhone, no. This is the resurrection of the iPhone 7 or 8 of yesteryear. So you get a throwback phone here all the way down to the diminutive size. The screen is even smaller at 4.7 inches, and it has even more bezel around it to accommodate the returning home button and Touch ID. But the phone feels pretty sturdy because it retains the all-metal design of the iPhone 8. In fact, this phone is only about a gram short of being the same weight as the Pixel 3a. Coupled with the small size, this is one of the easiest to handle smartphones in recent memory. But that doesn't mean you should disregard its safety, especially in these current times when repairs and shipping might not be as fast or as reliable as you need it to be. So you might consider some extra protection courtesy of Subcase. If you prefer transparent cases, the UB Style series doesn't just achieve that, but it's also 15-foot drop certified by Met Labs, with all various colors that'll match your style. The UB Clear takes it a step further with a boxier approach that is also mil-spec certified. For those looking to go all out, the award-winning UB Pro has beat every other case in durability tests, adapts to harsh environments, and has a variant that includes a kickstand that works both vertically and horizontally. There's even a belt holster. Best of all, both solutions are far less expensive than anything else on the market. Subcase is giving away an iPhone SE along with $100 in Subcase accessories to 3 lucky fans. Just follow the link below and use the code POCKETNOW to receive 50 special bonus entries. Alright, so especially compared to the highest profile phones we've seen so far in 2020, these two phones are somehow as important despite dialing things back in many different areas. The Pixel 3a was Google saying that they could bring a great everyday camera phone to just about anyone, while Apple brought back their old flex to make it clear to their users that they're not just all about the pros and the maxes, they're also able to bring that power in a mini. But that's where Apple might have thrown down the gauntlet because the iPhone SE brings their latest chipset. There might be some evidence to suggest that the Bionic A13 in this phone is underpowered, but that doesn't mean their performance is as dialed back as this phone's size. You're still able to run pretty much anything in the App Store with very few issues, even high-performing games. Despite the loss of Face ID, pretty much everything else that makes up the iOS experience is intact. And for some, it might actually be even better now because there's a tactile home button again. It's really everything around the A13 that scales down, like the 3GB of RAM that might not accommodate as many apps in the background, and honestly the smaller screen that will make media consumption and gaming a little bit tougher on the eyes. But iOS is as smooth as ever, which is expected from Apple and their walled garden. One place that might raise an eyebrow is in power. A 1821 mAh battery is admittedly small and might not get through every power user's full day of use, but 18-watt fast charging and wireless charging are both here to make sure it's topped up. You just have to make sure you either plan ahead or have a power bank on hand, just in case. The Pixel 3a, on the other hand, had impressive battery life due to a larger 3000 mAh battery and a scaled-back processor. You still get 18-watt fast charging, but wireless charging did not make the A-line. The rest of the phone follows a spec sheet that seems to match its price point. See, in the Android space, there are a lot of different processors and spec combinations that can be used to achieve all manner of user experiences, and the Pixel 3a was a perfect example of that, with the Snapdragon 670, 4GB of RAM, and only 64GB of onboard storage. The Pixel 3a wasn't a phone you got because you wanted to do multi-window all the time or get high kill counts in PUBG. It's the phone regular users got to get everyday tasks done, until it was time to capture some memories, and it's at that point that the story changes. For both Google and Apple, the cameras here are a big consideration because they are mid-range offerings. To keep the price affordable, both phones have one camera on the rear and one on the front. Everything else was up to creative tuning and software. And to that end, both phones do a fantastic job of overachieving for the general user. Now, Google went the software route, putting the powerful Pixel algorithmic processing to work on the single 12-megapixel camera. To this day, the Pixel line stands alone in making decent photos out of bad scenes and great photos out of good scenes. The same goes for the front-facing camera, as detailed selfies and software-backed portrait modes tend to yield good results. Now, one interesting quirk on this shoot was that I had a mask on since I was out and about, and the iPhone SE had more trouble recognizing my face, while the Google software would just take the picture and pretty much figure out the shape of my head after the fact. These comparison shots show that while the Pixel 3a might run a bit cooler in the color temperature, detail is still high, and post-processed HDR fills in for the dynamic range where the hardware might lack. 4K video recording is here as well, with some good quality and stabilization, thanks again to Google's software magic. But people generally look to Apple for high-quality video capture, and the iPhone SE delivers with capabilities that include 4K at 60 frames. Its HDR-enhanced video allows for videos to reach a bit more in the dynamic range as well. Also, the iPhone does a better job at front-facing video. But for getting good photos in the moment, both phones do a fantastic job, and thus we're looking at a pretty dead heat as far as affordable mid-range camera phones are concerned. There's really just one hole in the iPhone SE camera: night mode. The Pixel line champions its night sight capabilities, and luckily the affordable 3a has it, while the iPhone's photos simply fall apart in these low light situations. If you are all about that night or dark shooting, this is one of the only times when you should definitely consider something other than the iPhone. Okay, I understand that this is supposed to be a versus video, but in the age-old debate between Android versus iPhone, one thing has become very certain. If you're already in one ecosystem, you're likely to stay in that ecosystem. What matters is whether or not you're going to upgrade to one of these phones in question, rather than jumping from one to the other. And honestly, what I find so interesting about this comparison is the implied history of these two affordable smartphones. While there are definitely some compromises for the sake of making that $400 price point, Apple has done a good job of solidifying the SE as one of the easiest products to recommend from their catalog. It's simultaneously for the iPhone 8 user who never got the iPhone 9 they were waiting for, as well as the Apple user who might have accidentally broken their iPhone 10 or 11 and can't spare the money for a fresh flagship. If you're looking to dip your toe into the Apple ecosystem for the first time though, admittedly, this is one of the best ways to do it. And the Pixel 3a was the gateway for users to see what the Pixel was all about. Google made one of the lowest barriers of entries into one of the most reliable camera systems in Android today. And to achieve that, Google had to skimp on some of the performance. This is not to say that the phone is slow, but the difference here is that there are so many Android phones out there. The Pixel is technically competing with all of its brethren, as well as the iPhone. On the other hand, the walled garden that is Apple, the iPhone SE has one key benchmark: other iPhones. And to that end, stripping away many of the bells and whistles still resulted in a phone that most Apple fans could be happy to have. So it's really up to your priorities. If you want a capable camera at this price, Google's prowess is something to keep in mind, especially with the Pixel 4a on the horizon. Otherwise, if you need to always have a smooth, easy-to-use, Apple-powered everyday smartphone experience, the iPhone SE is here to shake up the competition. And if anything, it's worth seeing what comes next after Apple's almost surprising, affordable contender entered the ring. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this comparison between the iPhone SE and the Pixel 3a. What I love about this comparison is that these two phones have a storied past, and I wanted to kind of explore that, of course acknowledging the fact that if you already know what system you're really into, you're probably going to stick to that system. So Apple users, do you see the iPhone SE and want to grab one, especially if you're due for an upgrade? And Pixel users or Android users, are you excited for not only the Pixel 4a, but also the fact that the Pixel 3a has kind of set the bar and is still available for such a great price? Let us know how you feel about both of these phones in the comment sections down below, and if anything, make sure you drop some likes on this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. From there, we're going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in our next video.